Okay, I'm going live. I have to admit I'm a little bit behind technically here because someone I'm very close to has a minor injury and needed some help. So um, I am, I was a nurse for a few minutes and that interrupted the technical prep. And the lighting here is, as you can see, a little weird. It's never been ideal, but like I said, what I look like is not important. If you care what I look like, then you are definitely focused on the wrong things. And yeah, camera's working, and I do believe the microphone's working. Let me just, yes, it is. We're getting good audio out of the OBS-bot. Brief explanation. 2 weeks ago, terrible live stream, technically, a lot of skips. And no, that's not what I want. Hold on. Oh, no, I don't want that. But anyway, there's, oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah. No drop frames. That's the main thing I wanted to check. We had a lot of drop frames. And that was probably related to some handshaking between YouTube and my software. The software I use is Streamlab Desktop. That's not really important. I mean, there are other applications that achieve the same thing. I used to use OBS. Had some problems with the most recent upgrades to OBS and not syncing very well with the most recent upgrades to Mac OS. Because I'm on Tahoe now. I really think Apple upgrades their operating system too often, and they should focus, spend 2 years focusing on stability and getting the bugs out. Then, but instead they feel like every year they have to update the Mac OS and make a big deal out of it, even when it's really not that big a deal. So anyway, some things went incompatible with Tahoe. My favorite audio leveling app no longer works, which is annoying. Most other apps do work, I have to say. Okay, so including the OBS-bot app and the streaming desktop, the Streamlabs desktop. Now, so anyway, I think I've got that solved. I'd like to thank those who helped me with technical rehearsals, and you know who you are. And the technical rehearsals helped me diagnose the problem, and that in some forums, and I was able to solve it. I believe I've got it solved. Now, chat is open. I'm going to go from top chat to live chat. So you should be able to chat and ask questions. And this might be if there's no many questions, this will be a fairly brief live stream. That's been the pattern lately. Under an hour, I do have some things I want to talk about, but and I'll try not to repeat too much of what I've said in the past. Now, last week I talked about my drone, but my technical problems may have made that very hard to follow. So maybe we'll do it again after I have some more time with the drone and flying it around. The weather's getting a lot better here. Snowcrete is completely gone. The snowcrete was a big problem for getting out on trails or getting out into parks anywhere really, except on the main roads. Uh, so I'm glad that's no longer an issue. We have we're supposed to get some more snow on Sunday, but I think it's going to be a minor event, no big deal. And then we'll have spring after that, won't we? We will have spring, right? Yeah, spring. Yeah, I'm all for it. It is almost March. Today is the 27th of February, 2026. How many of you, show of hands, how many thought you get to 2026 and still standing? Well, I don't see any hands. Anyway, if you're here watching, by all means, say hello in the chat. You don't even have to have a question. Just say hi. It's nice to know that people are watching. I mean, I'm burning up 4.2% of my CPU just to do this live stream. So for that, I should get some attention. Okay. Today I have an announcement that I'm pretty happy about regarding a future guest for this live stream. I think it most likely date right now is going to be April 3rd. She's somebody I've been wanting to get on for a while. I asked her to come on a couple of weeks ago. She said yes. And I will have more information about that very soon on the website, reportaufo.org, or it's also aerial-phenomenon.org. That's hard to spell, and I apologize. It's something I inherited. Maybe I'll get another domain name. I'm not happy with the one we have, but I do want to throw away the one we have because a lot of people have those links. So anyway, all you have to remember is reportaufo.org, and we'll have some announcement there. But I'll give you a brief verbal summary of who she is and why she's a really interesting guest, a really exciting guest, and hopefully a really helpful guest for some of you. And I'm going to be promoting this a lot, so forgive me if you see a lot of promotion for it. And I would really appreciate it if you would also help me promote it through social media or whatever it is you have your friends, and I will be sending it out in our newsletter. We haven't put out a newsletter in months, so I think that's overdue. I was going to do that every month, but you know how that is. I'm not very good at sticking to regular habits, so maybe when I retire, I'll be able to get one out every month and just set aside a day to write it up. I don't want it to be a big production. I just want to be a little email. This. Please join us. If you want to be recipient of our email newsletter, which will summarize everything nicely for you with links and make it real easy to find things, just go to reportaufo.org and click on the Contact Us tab, and then say, "Yay, please add me to the newsletter." I will not use your email for anything else except for the newsletter. I will not ask you for money ever, and I will not promote other people's products, just our events and podcasts and so forth, and let you know what's going on with our caseload. Caseload's been pretty low lately, but we still have a lot of cases to catch up on. So, and I'm hoping that I can do that soon. Um, I have mentioned that I am going to retire. Uh, there is no date yet established for retirement. It might even be next year. Um, do have a kid in college, um, but uh, it's a state school, so not horribly expensive compared to what it would be if he was going to, say, Johns Hopkins. So anyway, uh, that's that's something that the newsletter should be very helpful with, and I would hope that you would. And I'll let you know in the newsletter when I'm going to retire. When I retire, I will devote more time to API. I'm not going to say it's going to be full time, but because I have lots of other things on my agenda. Um, Many of which are just fun things, some of which are, you know, uh, lifelong learning type of activities. And we'll see. Uh, I may not be able to do everything I want. And I'm going to be realistic about that and say, look, here's what I have to give up if I want to do this or that. And when my wife retires, we're hopefully going to do a lot of traveling. Some of that traveling will be API related and some of it won't. Some of it's just going to be, camping out in the woods and enjoying nature. But I think a lot of times, well, what was I going to say? I guess things happen, unusual, anomalous things happen when you don't expect them, when you're not ready for them. I don't know if that's because I'm just never ready or because there's some kind of universal law of weird things happening when you're not ready for them. It might be a psychological law. Who knows? Anyway, let's get to the announcement, and I'm going to bring up something on my browser, and I'm not going to show you this because this is. This will help me find the link. Oh, what was that? I apologize, but like I said, I didn't get to do all the technical preparation that I wanted to do. Logging into an account. Okay. Let's see. I'm almost there. Okay. I'm going to have to. I don't know why I can't find the link. But I will find it. But anyway, I apologize for this taking so long. Yeah, that's definitely her. Okay. This is on the Psychology Today website. That probably gives you a hint about what we're talking about here. Let me bring this up. And I'm going to move my pretty face out of the way. Okay. The guest's name is Rachel Bond. She is a LCSW, a clinical social worker, therapist. And I encountered Rachel, the only time I've ever met her in real life was last November at the UFO convention that I was at called Mysteries of Space and Sky that Peter Rusta does every year. And Peter's a really good guy, but that's not relevant at this point. But anyway, he sponsors this convention, which has a fairly modest admission price. It's one day. It's in a Elks Lodge in Gambrills, Maryland, which is south of Baltimore, northeast of DC, to get some idea where it is. It's not far from Annapolis. And I spoke there, and I think I mentioned our ethics code, and I wanted to assure people that no matter what you think you've experienced, I don't think you're crazy. And there's two reasons why I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy because I've met a lot of people who've experienced very strange things who are not crazy. And two, I'm not trained or qualified to assess the mental health of anyone. I am just a volunteer UFO researcher. So, and it is and I talked about our ethics code, and then I gave my talk, and it was a good talk, and got a good audience Q&A going. I wish it could have gone longer. And after that, I sat down at the table in the back, and I was handing out cards. These cards are like this is the card. It's can you focus on that, Mr. Obsbot? Maybe you can't see it. Anyway, these little cards will tell you where to. It has our URL on the front, and then a QR code that you scan that, it'll take you right to the website. And then, how's that? Well, I'm not sure that'll work. Not very well lit. Anyway, as I sat there, Rachel came up to the table and introduced herself, and she is a psychotherapist. I'm reading this verbatim. A psychotherapist exploring the intersection of trauma, transformation, and consciousness. You can interpret that any way you want, but I think you get the basic idea. My background includes work with survivors of violence in nonprofit and military settings and advanced training in trauma treatment. So she has experience and training in dealing with people who've had traumatic experiences, difficult experiences that they're struggling to cope with. Later on the paragraph, she says, this is a stigma-free, integrative space for those seeking coherence, connection, and wholeness. So she's not going to diagnose you with a mental illness. She's not going to recommend you take a pill or anything like that because you had a strange experience. She just wants to help you experience it in a better way. Coherence, connection, and wholeness, I think, is a pretty good way of putting it. Beyond ordinary experiences can open us, but they can also shake us. And shortly thereafter, I spoke to someone who had been shaken by some of his experiences, and I referred him to Rachel, and he's been, I don't know if he's still working with her, but he was for a while. And maybe he still is. He had a very positive assessment of her as I would say a therapist, so much, but someone to help him put it together. And he's not crazy. Responsible guy, businessman, hardworking. Had some interesting things that he's seen and experienced. I'm not going to judge whether those things are real or not, because I don't have any more information than that. What we do when people come to us with anomalous experiences does not have to be UFO, but that's kind of our wheelhouse, but we can move outside that if we have to. We will do our best to find out whatever facts we can about the case. Sometimes we can actually explain it. It's not our purpose to explain things at all cost. We are quite happy to say, look, we don't know what this was. And here's why we don't think it's any of the usual explanations. Now, if you had a close encounter, it's far more likely to be unexplained than a light in the sky. So, so most of the people who need help with their experiences have had some variation of a close encounter. It may not necessarily be with a flying vehicle. It may be something else, but that's okay. And we do not, like I said, we don't call people crazy. We don't think you're crazy. We think you remember something that happened, and you're struggling to deal with those memories. Or you may not be struggling. You may just be perfectly content with them. We will help you document them, and we will help you with whatever information we can find to anchor that in fact. But one thing we can't do for you is help you with the emotional, the psychological experience if you're shaken by it. And we certainly have met people who are shaken by their experiences. Again, people that seem to us to be perfectly sane. So, Rachel, I don't know, can you see this? Maybe you can. Maybe bring, well, anyway, I will put a link in the description below after the show is over. And I can drop one in the chat too if you like. Yeah, why don't I do that? Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put this in the chat. Well, that's not working. So anyway, um, but there will be a link, and if you're interested, and you can her contact information is on this page, um, and her the address of her office, and her number is 443 7 443 785 6869. Again, this is if you want professional help with an anomalous experience and you live in this area, the suburban Maryland um, area of Maryland, the DC Baltimore corridor. She's available to help you. And I would, I've never had an experience that I felt shook me, that I felt that I needed some kind of emotional help with. Therapy is another word for that, although I don't know that we're really talking about therapy here. But she will listen without judging you, just as I will. But she knows how to listen better than I do, and she knows how to respond to that. And like I said, I'm not your therapist, can't be your therapist, shouldn't attempt to be your therapist. So anyway, Rachel will be on this live stream April 3rd, and I hope that you will join us and bring your questions. Now, you can send in questions ahead of time if you don't want to have them in the chat, or if you just can't be there in real time because it's late on a Friday night. A lot of you are out partying, or some of you are sleeping. Some of you are reading to the kids, whatever it is you're doing. You may not be able to attend. So I think we might move it a little earlier, make it like 9:30 or 9 o'clock. And she'll be on and she'll be answering your questions, and she'll be talking about how she helps experiencers. She will not be discussing specific cases, of course, not in any, certainly not telling you who it is she's had contact with about this sort of thing, because that just wouldn't be ethical. But she will talk about it in general and answer your questions. And if you want, and like I said, you can just call her now if you want help with something you've experienced. So Rachel G. Bond, and this is a Psychology Today page. You go to Psychology Today, they have providers you can find there. She says she specializes in trauma and PTSD, spirituality, and existential crisis. And hopefully your insurance will cover it. If you have any other questions about that, feel free to ask me or go to our Contact Us page. And but I would just contact Rachel directly. She seems very nice. And she looks very young, but I think she's got some experience. She's not a spring chicken, but she's I don't know. I would guess she's about 30, but just to guess. I'm not very good at judging people's age. She's a lot younger than me, but who isn't? But anyway, So that's something I'm excited about having, and I'm going to promote the hell out of that because I want to get a lot of people um, coming in live and asking questions in the chat, and I hope you will as well. Um, if you're watching this offline, which is fine, please consider being there live. And if you can't be there live, you can ask questions through our contact us page. Say, I have a question for Rachel, and here it is. And I'll, assuming that it's an appropriate question, I will ask it of her. So anyway, what else? Okay, well, that is something that I really wanted to bring forward and talk about, and I will talk about it in the next live stream as well. So I'm going to hide that and bring my lovely face back into view. I don't know why the lighting is, well, I do know why the lighting is not very good, but I don't know why the white balance is so. I won't bore you with technical stuff, but I have tried to get get this looking properly good, and it does not look all that good. If I do that, it looks maybe a little better. Okay, we'll go with that. Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, Randy Lowen says, howdy. Howdy, Randy. Glad you could join us tonight. Anybody else? Just say hi. You don't have to. You don't have to necessarily be full of questions or comments. I'm going to. I was gonna do a more detailed field investigators backpack segment tonight. I could not prepare for that properly. I apologize. Friday night has a lot of. It's pretty packed tight. That's why I usually set this to 10 o'clock, so I have some time to prepare for things. But this was, in fact, even tighter than normal. So anyway, I am going to talk about one thing though, and maybe I need better lighting. Is that better? Anyway, I was going to talk about my basic, very fast grab and go recon kit. That is site visit kit. That is, if you go to do a boots on the ground investigation and you don't have a lot of time to prepare, I do recommend doing some planning anyway, even if it's local. If it's local, it's easier. But maybe do what I've recommended in the past. Take a 4x6 card and write down a few basic facts about the case and about where you're going, and to prepare yourself so that you don't forget any of this stuff. Don't rely on your memory. The address where you're going to is something, for example, the phone numbers. And when you get there, if it's you may be in a place that you want to be able to determine what direction your witness was looking in, and he or she may not have a great idea, but they could probably point to the direction they were looking at. And that can be really important when you start to do the analysis of the case. Okay, I'm going to get a better light over here. I'll get my Milwaukee work light. Yeah, it's got a decent charge on the battery. Okay. Well, this is one of the things I like to have with me. It's a compass, right? Your basic magnetic compass. There's a particular type of magnetic compass. There's one that has a, can I see? Does that help? Maybe it doesn't help all that much. Magnetic compass that has a lid that can be used to sight. See, there's this little sighting notch here. Use it to sight. Now, before you head out, if it's not local, or even if it is, you want to check what the magnetic declination is in the area where you will be or where you are. That is easy to do. There are websites that will support that. Let me bring, sorry, I didn't have all this already worked through. I'll get better at it. Let's go to our resources page. So you go to our homepage, and you click on resources, and you'll see there a whole bunch of different links to things that might be useful to you in a UFO investigation. Down to the bottom, we have web apps and pages. And the web app of interest here is the NOAA Magnetic Declination Tool. NOAA is, of course, a U.S. government agency. And there's a magnetic field calculator. Now, you put in your Latin line, and you don't have to be very super precise about that. Where I live is roughly 39 degrees north and 77 degrees west. And use the current date. And I'm going to calculate. And I get this nice little window. Is that showing up? Yes, it is. Okay. Now, what this shows you is the magnetic declination today, according to a particular model, and there are more than one model, but they all come pretty closely in agreement, is 10.64 degrees west, changing by 100th of a degree per east per year. Okay, so what that means is that if I am looking at magnetic north, you see that MN there? MN, magnetic north. I'm actually looking not an azimuth of 0, but an azimuth of 349.36, or roughly 350. Okay, so a good compass like this Suunto, made by a lovely Finnish company. I'm really fond of their compasses. They're not terribly expensive, and they hold up well. The Suunto compass has the ability to change the declination so that, and I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it this way. The red the red arrow lines up with this red mark on here, and the when that lines up, you're looking at magnetic north. So I hold it so it lines up. Now, you can rotate until it lines up. Okay. Now, when you do that, if you are facing north, magnetic north, which in this case is over there, if you're facing magnetic north, you're actually looking at a true azimuth, a true north, that's a little bit west of that, 10.64 degrees west. So you can set your compass to account for that, so that when you are looking at, when you line up the marks, the red marks with the red arrow, and then you sight along here, you will get an accurate azimuth. You can actually see it in the mirror. There's a mirror here, that multifunction mirror. But one of the things you can do is use it to look at the azimuth. And you just rotate this until the two arrows, the marks in the arrow, line up, and then that tells you what the azimuth is that you're looking at. And you write that down, or I'd write it down, or at least record it onto your video. And the purpose of that, the sighting, is to find when the witness says, well, it was over that building, but just to the left. You sight there, whatever the landmark is, building, water tower, hill, large tree, you sight there, and then you get that azimuth. And then when you go back to back home, and you get on Google Earth and you can plot that out, that exact azimuth, and see what the direction was. See if there's anything over in that direction that's permanently there, like a radio tower or whatever. You can also use that to sort of plot the direction of the object as it moved. So that's what you do if you're really trying to do a proper job of investigation. You want azimuth, you want elevation, and elevation is a little bit different trick. This actually can give you elevation. I won't go into that now, but a compass can serve as an inclinometer. So it's got a really nice sighting ability, and that is better than what you get with your phone. Now, phones have decent compass apps. I have a couple on my phone. and I would use them in a pinch. But if I've got this, I'm not going to use them a whole lot. Um, Another good app to get on your phone is an inclinometer. You can use that. You hold the phone at the elevation angle, or you have the witness hold the phone at the elevation angle where they remember the object being, and you can get an elevation angle. That can be really useful for a lot of things. Work light's not helping that much, is it? What I need to do is get another light and another camera for demonstrating these things, and I will do that. That's all part of the plan. Okay. N Lucid says, has anyone ever seen something like a dime-sized... Oh, wait a minute. I can't... I think I'm missing a little bit of his or her... Has anyone ever seen something like a dime-sized flat object of purest white? Possible. That's just scrolling slow across the sky with an intermittent plasma discharge effect on the backside of motion. I've seen elements of things like that, yes, in some cases. Purest white is not often described. Dime-sized, by dime, I presume you mean a dime held at arm's length? Or a dime right up to your face. I mean, that does matter how far away the dime is. In fact, it's proportional. And then New Lucid says, it's so white it's scary. Well, I guess we don't have a lot of reports of the really bright of a white color, although if the light is bright enough, it will often appear to be white, even though it's not necessarily really white. However, you can get very bright lights of other colors as well. Circle flat object, just about 20K in this. Well, of course, you don't know the real altitude because you don't know the real size, and you don't know what it is. A lot of people give us altitude estimates, and we use that. We don't take those literally. We use them as a sort of assessment of the perception. Now, we did have a gentleman in the United Kingdom who did shoot some video of an object that was quite white in color, but it was fairly far away from him. That turned out to be a very large conventional aircraft, something called a beluga, which is an Airbus cargo aircraft, very large. And from that distance, it looks white. It doesn't look particularly circular, but there's a lot of haze and atmospheric distortion that may make it. You could probably convince yourself it's any size. Let's see. The only thing it reminded me of was looking under the belly of an SR-71, the blackest black. But this thing launched from the horizon straight up into the sky and stopped like a star. Oh, that's interesting behavior. So, not a plane then, because a plane keeps moving, right? So it's stood there for 5 minutes or so, then eventually scrolled, didn't fly. I don't know what scrolled means, but okay, move slowly. I This was in complete daylight, no fog, afternoon. Okay, that's important. It's important to know that up front. We're talking about the lighting conditions. Uh, so I don't have an answer for what that was. I have had people report things moving quickly, then stopping. We see quite a few reports like that. Uh, if I had the exact date and time, and we might be able to work something out. But even if it's difficult. But if it moved quickly to the and then stopped, it wasn't a plane, and it wasn't a satellite. Of course, you don't see satellites during the day that much anyway. Sometimes you can see the ISS a little bit, but not much. Uh, like imagining taking your mouse cursor and just moving it across the screen straight. Oh, okay. So it just basically moved from right to left or left to right uh, without any indication that it was turning or uh, yeah. So I don't know what that was. Um, Probably if I investigated, I would very likely come to the conclusion it was unidentified. Um, but I don't hear that pure white a whole lot. We do see white objects. Uh, Balloons are often white. Um, we do get a lot of people identifying or misidentifying science balloons or weather balloons. Now, they do appear to be white, and especially in the correct lighting conditions when the sun is coming from the right angle. Uh, it was going in a southern location. Just hated how you see that and know you're not part of whatever club that has that tech feeling. Oh, I think I understand that. Yeah. So, yeah, southern direction. Um, but this could be a balloon, how it darted and just stayed still. Yeah, it's balloons generally don't dart. They move slowly. Uh, they tend to be, and also dime. I don't know. We still haven't established what distance the dime was, but generally, weather balloons look more like Venus. They look almost star-like because they're very far away. They're they're tens of thousands of feet up. So they're many miles away from you. And they're not that large. Um, Science balloons can be quite a bit bigger, uh, depending on, but they don't. Yeah, they don't dart. Um, Now we'd have to figure out what dart means, but yeah, they don't move quickly. They move slowly. They move with whatever the winds are at altitude. Uh, there are some balloons that can be maneuvered, but they're rare and very sophisticated balloons. And the loon balloons that Google used to fly all over the place, I believe they're not doing that at all anymore. Um, let's see. The plasma effect felt weird, though. It was like trying to engage something, but it was in this degraded state when it launched straight up into the sky. Um, Sometimes something that's appearing to go straight up uh, may actually be coming towards you as well. It may be coming towards you or going up, and some combination of the two. Um, we get a lot of people uh, confusing those things. Now, probably not a contrail because contrails are not disc shaped. They tend to have a certain elongation to them. Even very short contrails um, don't look like that. They don't look like what I'm seeing described here. It really looked like something out of a movie that caught my eye, and I knew right away this was something crazy. Uh, I believe you. I wish we had some video. I really wish we did. That would help a lot. If you want to send me, if you took a video, send it to us. Go to reportofufo.org and well, look. Um, and we get a lot of videos that we can't explain. Um, most of them, I would say 60-70%, we either can't explain or we just don't think they're that strange. There are a lot of what we call low strangeness unidentifieds. We don't know what it is, but the way it's behaving is not particularly weird. Could be lots of things. But there is still a percentage that are strange enough to warrant a higher strangeness rating. We rate everything that's submitted to us, all sightings, whether there's video or not, on a strangeness scale of 0 to 5. We have never had a 5, but we've had some 3s and 4s. And we discussed on episode 1, we discussed one of our strangest cases, but that wasn't really a UFO case. That was something else. So everything gets a case quality rating and a strangeness rating, and they're supposed to be independent. That is, it might be strange but not a very good case, or it might be a great case but not that strange. We've had both. The main reason why a case is not rated very high in quality is not because the witness is unreliable or is not telling the truth or doesn't remember accurately, but the reason is there's only one witness. And there we're dealing with the fragility of human memory, which is well known, and human perception, which can often, that doesn't make you crazy if you misperceive something. I misperceive things. And I also, misremember things. And my wife will tell you that I misremember things a lot. And she's probably right. So anyway, that's really interesting. See, this was far out in the horizon, clear visibility day, how to be way out there, and it's just something like a dot of white. Okay, it was dime-sized. I don't know dime at what distance. This was just launched straight up and stayed in the sky like a star that went into between two aircraft flying at the altitude and the object. Well, again, we don't know what the altitudes are. The object went above them and eventually stopped and was still, then moved. Middle of the day, no noise at all. My witness saw it and thought it was a helicopter. She had no idea and didn't care. Well, sometimes these things are a lot closer to you than you think. It's hard to assess that without video, and without a sketch, and without, and of course we don't really know what the altitude was. Don't really know what the distance is. If you just see a dot in the sky, you don't really know. It could be a mile away or it could be 100 yards away. You don't really know. We had a case like that. I think I did review once on this this live stream, I showed that video from Glendora, California. The witness thought that the light was over the mountain. This is a daytime sighting. There was video. The witness thought that the light was over the mountains, and the mountains were a few miles away. This was in Southern California. So we're looking north, and there's mountains in that direction. And the witness thought that there was that's where the light was over the mountains. There was no way to be sure that the light wasn't a whole lot closer than the mountains. And in my opinion, it could easily have been explained by this particular case. I'm not saying in all cases, but this case, the light could have been explained by a drone with a bright light, some kind of spotlight or light on it, that as it rotates, the light dims and brightens. And it was probably much closer. It was probably like 100, 200 yards away, maybe even closer than that. It did appear like in one part of the video, you just barely see it, but it looked like it was, whatever it was landing. It was coming down in a neighborhood that was probably 100, 200 yards away. Again, can't really be sure. It's just a light, an object in the sky can be much closer or much further away than you think. I've had lots of people say that the planet Venus was a mile away. Well, it's not. It's a lot further. But once you've decided that what you're seeing is an object that's in the atmosphere, you can't unsee it. It looks like it's close. It looks like it might, and even if there's clouds moving past it, you may perceive that as motion of the object. See, just estimate is was getting closer to my location. It seemed like a dime size whiteout. Again, a dime size or a quarter size or a basketball size, whatever. It depends on how far away that comparison object is. If it's at arm's length, that's a good standard to use. We don't all have the same arm length, but roughly, we do roughly. A foot or two. A very short person might have like an 18-inch arm's length, and I have like probably a 24-inch, 25-inch arm's length. Well, let's test that. Oh, come on. All right, I have about a 25-inch arm's length. Probably pretty typical. So, if you're going to compare the size of something to a known object, you have to specify a distance for the known object. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. Right, it would be that arm's length pointing at it. Okay, so a dime at arm's length is a pretty good sized object, actually. I don't think very many planes, I think if you held a dime at arm's length, it would cover up most of the planes you could see in the sky. Even, big planes. I live in an area where there's a lot of air traffic out of Dulles Airport going into Reagan National Airport, and also coming in and out of Baltimore Thurgood Marshall Airport, and three major airports plus Andrews Air Force Base. So I see planes all the time, and if you pay close attention, you realize that many of them are actually have quite small angular size. When I go to put a telephoto lens on them and take a photograph, I don't get a very large image. the planes from Dulles that are flying over tend to be about 15,000 feet, about 3 miles in altitude. And so maybe you're 3 or 4 miles away from me. And they're not very big, even though, well, they're big planes, as big as planes go, but you could probably cover them up with a dime easily. So, that's, I'm not saying that what this person saw was a plane. What NU Lucid or New Lucid is describing certainly doesn't seem like a plane or a balloon. But keep in mind that planes fly around all the time, and they may appear to be in the same area, but they might be much closer, much further away. What I recommend, and I've always recommended this to people, daytime sightings, have an app on your phone that tracks flights. Probably the most popular one is Flight Radar 24, but there are others, and most of them are free, although you can buy a membership that will gives you some additional features. Flight Radar 24 is not bad, although there is some filtering going on there. There's an uglier but less filtered app that I use. And what's it called? It's called ADSB Exchange. It's also a website of that name. And use that to see what planes are in what, you see something in a particular direction. Look for the planes in that direction. What are they? This works both at night and daytime. And here's a good exercise to try. Just when you're out walking the dog or whatever during the day, and you see a plane, or you hear a plane, and then you go and look at it. Before you get your app out, estimate its altitude. Say, well, I think it's 5,000 feet or whatever. And then get the app out and look what the altitude is, because that's going to be pretty accurate, pretty definitive. See how close you got. When I first started doing that, I was way off a lot. I didn't understand the air traffic in my area, so I didn't understand what the altitude was. Now the air traffic controllers have this set up so that different traffic is at different altitudes for safety reasons, and like the traffic coming out of Dulles and heading east or north comes through this corridor right by my house, almost over my house, and it's it's all about, by the time it gets to there, it's probably all about 15,000 feet. I didn't know that at first, and I started testing myself on this, and I got it wrong. I would usually guess a much lower altitude. Now, the planes that come out of Andrews tend to be even lower. They're not always on Flight Radar 24. The military does not always broadcast certain planes where they are. Certainly, Air Force One, they're not going to tell you anything about where that is. But you can see it sometimes, or you can see one of the planes that is used for training the Air Force One air crews, and they look just like Air Force One. Those go in and out of Andrews all the time. I've only actually ever photographed it once, and it was not a very good photograph. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Let's see. New Lucid says, I'm assuming that's the way you want to pronounce this. New Lucid just couldn't escape that freezing effect where you don't want to loose your eyes off of it. Yeah, that's pretty common. A lot of people, when they have an encounter, even if it's a distant encounter like that, don't want to take their eyes off of it. They don't want to get their phone out. They don't want to take a video. They just want to see it. They just want to look at it. And in the one close encounter I have had, this was before phones had very good video capabilities. I did it, and the best camera I had did not shoot video. So I was stuck. I couldn't even get a photo of it. My camera was in the house. My phone was in the house. I was just outside the house, maybe 100 feet. So frustrating. I don't have an explanation for why that is. These days, I always carry my phone with me and usually some kind of camera as well. But that sighting is not repeated. Let's see. This was back in 2019, so my phone sucked anyway. Well, 2019, phones were not that bad. Camera phones. They're better now, but still, I mean, that was only 6 years ago or 7 years ago. So I would, yeah. These days, there's no excuses. Especially the higher end phones have pretty good video. Now, I don't entirely trust it. I think a lot of it is software driven, beautified. But if you get a cell phone video of something interesting, by all means, get it to me, please. By me, I mean, API, which isn't just me, but yeah, let's see your video. Reportaufo.org, and we will be happy to have a close look at your video. Can't guarantee we'll reach any definitive conclusions. We get really good videos maybe once a year. We get a lot of videos that are ambiguous. It could be lots of things. Yeah, now I should point out, we do have videos of white objects. They don't necessarily move the way described by New Lucid, but and most of them turn out to be planes, but not all. Some are just, we don't know what they are. We also get these flickering little dots. They're so small in the video, we can't really discern shape. Dot is certainly not dime sized. They're much smaller than that. And dot is means that they're basically, it's very difficult to discern the shape, but they can be quite bright. And sometimes they flicker very briefly, like 2 or 3 frames, if that, and then they're gone. And then a second or 2 later, it pops up again. A lot of times we would conclude that that's because it's got some kind of highly reflective surface. And Okay, I'm going to turn off that. And there's a smoother way to do this, but I'm not doing it tonight. I'm clearly not a virtuoso with Streamlabs, but I'm improving. Yeah, well, why don't you shoot me a link to that video if you've got it. Have a look. I have watched a lot of UFO videos, and I'm used to disappointment because of that. Many of our best cases, our best close encounter cases, there's no video. In fact, that's something that seems to be almost a law of nature, that close encounters don't get videos. And now only a small percentage of our cases are close encounters. So, and I think we might only have one video. And it's nighttime, so it's difficult to assess the range of the object. Was it really a close encounter? And that's fuzzy, but close encounter, a few hundred feet or closer, preferably a lot closer. Most of the things I would consider close encounter are within 100 feet. And if you, those are imperial units, let's say 30 meters. I really prefer to use metric units, but here in the U.S. we use feet still, feet and miles, and I wish we didn't, but we do. There's not very many poems that talk about how many kilometers you have to go. Not as poetic, but we've already got those poems, so we know what a mile is. So we can move on to kilometers or meters, or it's a lot easier to do the math. So anyway, thank you for that story, New Lucid. It was, as you noticed, about 7 years ago. Probably not much point in trying to investigate it now. What we really want to see is reports that are very recent. When you make a report to us, before you submit the report, make a sketch or 2 or 3 or 4, however many sketches you need to show what you observed. And and write down on the sketch every fact you can remember. And then go to reportaufo.org, fill in the form, shoot a photo of your sketch or sketches, and attach those to the form. Sketches are really valuable. You do not have to be a good artist. I am certainly not a good artist. So I don't judge anyone for lack of artistic talent, because I am probably the best example of lack of artistic talent of anyone around. Let's see, the title of the video is Building Stairs for Our Home Roof Completion. Okay, well, that might be enough to find it on YouTube, if it's on YouTube. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap this up and go on for almost an hour and a half. Thanks, New Lucid, for participating. I appreciate that. If anybody else have anything they want to chime in with, I will be happy um, to address it either now or next time. Probably the next one. Well, okay, there's some things coming up that may move our schedule around a little bit, but nominally, let's see. I think we're talking about um, March 13th as the next one. Let me see. Um, yeah, March 13th. Let's do that. Um, I would do this every week if there was more participation and more encouragement. I don't mean you have to send me money. Uh, this doesn't cost me very much to do these. Um, and so, anyway, thank you for showing up. Again, I want to point out Rachel Bond will be on, I think, April 3rd. I'll confirm that. She said that would be a good day for her. She wants to do the live stream. So come and bring your questions for Rachel. Or if you have a friend who has had some unusual experiences that they're struggling to deal with, or has some questions about the best way to approach the personal, emotional side of that, they can come and bring their questions. I'll even, if you're an experiencer, and you want to ask a question of Rachel online, I will bring you into the Zoom call. I just need to know in advance that you want to do that. So we can get 2 or 3 people. I'm going to ask some panelists to participate as well. A couple of people, and so that will be April 3rd. March 13th will be our next live stream, and probably maybe March 20th or March 27th, and then the next one after that will be Rachel's appearance, and we're going to try to devote the entire show to that. And so basically to experiencers, and now an experiencer is simply someone who's had any experience that they don't understand or what we would call anomalous. It doesn't have to be multiple experiences, although many of them do report multiple experiences. Just anyone that you're struggling with, something that shook you up. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're failing to cope. It just means that you'd like to talk to someone about it. And if you don't want to go public with your name, you can use a pseudonym and talk about it in the chat. And if we certainly, we're not going to dox you, even if we could. So anyway, thank you, everybody. And I will see you right now. The plan is, March 13th. See you then.